40,000 brood mares only in our area.
Their state.
In a state that might be, yeah, like 2 counties here in the United States. There were still 30, 40,000 brood mares alone with us of the Rheinisch Deutsch Kaltblut, and that changed for sure dramatically till the 70s, end of 70s. We ended up not having 1,000. But the breeders kept straight. They kept the type that was always needed and used for field work and in mass quantity for driving, for transportation. Stayed straight, breeders were together, the breeding organization kind of set the rules and evaluated them, and the ones that survive, getting they are getting popular more and more now, and that's the kind of horse that we looked last year in several parts of Germany. Actually, we did a lot of miles for Germany. We drove really big miles and looked at horses. And as Jason said, and I had the same opinion with that before I talked to Friedrich. If we can't find the good ones, I was on the road before him, did that tour. We can't find the good ones. Don't need to come over. Just leave it in privacy. I think in the long run, we found the good ones. However, that's how organizations run in Germany, very close to the breeders. The breeders are members like ABA. They run the show. And performance testing, what we showed today, that has a tradition for 100 years now. The format changed, you know. Before and after World War II, they did long distance with heavy weight, with teams and all that. That changed. But what we see today, that helped keeping the horse. In other countries in Europe, they didn't do that. They kept the number of horses. They kept alive the number of horses, the number of brood mares, but not for the purpose of using them. The only use was really human consumption, getting more and more and more meat on that. And yeah, some of them for the show ring then. However, that's how it worked for us pretty good. And breeding organizations in Germany, we run pretty strict, easier for us. And when we issue papers nowadays, every foal has to be DNA tested, parentage proven, so that we can be sure. It's when you have the pedigree, the pedigree is the genetics of that horse. DNA, when I travel here in the US, I do DNA. That's totally simple. I have a stupid plastic bag. I have that horrible tool. Pull some hairs out, mane or tail, put it in that bag, send it to UC Davis in California. For $25, I have my DNA parentage tested. And so that's pretty simple. That's how we do it in Germany, and I do it here. And the second thing, what I really would kind of recommend for you also, especially here in the United States, where papers get thrown away. I heard some cases, oh, they don't provide, I bought the horse, they don't provide the papers. A really easy thing is just get a microchip. You know, it's that little thing what's from the company, if you buy them in quantity, it's between $5 and $10. That reader nowadays costs $50. You scan the horse, and everybody who wants to have a look. This is a unique number. The number I just read here is one time in the whole world. I microchip the horses. It's very simple, like all the colts are microchipped. It would be, this stays the whole life. Unlike in dogs and cats, where it goes under the skin, it goes in the muscle, you read it off, you go into the database. We, as an organization, I would recommend this, send everything to USEP, so you have in the United States Equestrian Federation a whole database. If you ever found a horse, no papers, but you find a microchip, you can look him up. And that gives you the information. So what I heard, that won't be looked. That's how we do it in Germany. In the US, I already brand them. Unfortunately, that's banned nowadays through animal rights people in Germany. That's how we do it. That's how it was done. It's easier for us in Germany. We have no distance. Also, all the foals, especially foals by stallions with the first or second or third foal drop, they get evaluated. And pretty soon you learn, the breeders learn, hey, I saw now 10 or 15 of that stallion.
Not as good.
They are not as good as we
Super
think, and so this stallion goes out of breeding. That's why we're able to keep that type with true breeders that wanted to stay to that type. And today we saw that it's pretty consistent all over Germany, where we breed the Rheinisch Deutsch Kaltblut. Pretty consistent horses. You drive along a field and you can tell here they are.
I would say the shortest horse we saw over there was 15.3 for a mature horse, and the tallest horse we saw was 17.1.
17 probably.
Yeah. 5 inches variance in the entire, everything we looked at, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
17 is very tall.
Yeah, very tall.
63 is
and I think he had a quarter U.S. Belgian in him or something.
Yeah.
I mean, very consistent size. And then
feathers.
Friedrich was, one thing Friedrich brought up when we were there twisting his arm, the amount, looking at mares when picking out studs, and the amount, you want to look at proven mares in the pedigree.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 state premium mares in the pedigree.
Yeah,
Very important.
Yeah.
And these 3 stud colts we imported all have 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not going to tell you how many mine has, but a lot of state premium mares. What that proves was many years of consistently good mares behind that stud colt.
Yeah. Unlike it's very different in human breeding. In human breeding, the sire is more important. In horse breeding, it's the mare.
So,
No, just kidding. But our focus is mares.
can you talk a minute on sex type and why, like a lot of our big Belgian stallions will wear a 28-inch collar and huge and lumbering, and what you guys?
You have a standard, and when we are talking here, I say 50 people, we can come pretty close to a standard with a variation. But the breed standard should be there. Breed standard, breed type. You have a variation in the beginning, you have a very wide variation because you have different breeds
Starting from scratch.
started from scratch. With the 3 colts, or just for taking them for example, they're different bloodlines, different mothers. 2 have the same sire, 1 is from a totally different. But it's one type of horse in the long run. You see them and you know this is a Rheinisch Deutsch Kaltblut. When we score them, the first score is type. And type really means breed type. You look at the horse, it fits the type. For an experienced guy, pretty simple. And a true breeder, a mare or a stallion, they need to have sex type. You need to see from a distance. You don't have to bend down, what is it? No, it should be obvious. By impression, by eye, by face. This is a male, this is a female. That's very important. You very rarely see a horse, a mare that looks like a gelding or anything that is a good producer. Even more rarely, you see a geldingish stallion that produces consistent and good. This is the first score, then all the other scores on that. Exterior correctness is a pretty important thing, the gaits. But the breed and sex type is really an important thing. And looking at your youngster, it just pick him out. Even he's still a youngster. When he stands there, you don't need a second guess when you look in his eyes.
So your stallion, so to be clear, the stallions are actually more athletic looking and lighter than our stallions?
And the impression. Yeah.
And they're in the heads, but they should be able to cover 25 mares and protect 25 mares and be mobile.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes. Not begging them to breed.
No, that they must be wild. Yes. And we want the longevity in the mares. The good stage premium mare is tested, and then when Friedrich looks, he won't look for a mare where herself, the grand dam and the great grand dam had only in her career 2 or 3 points. That's a no-go for a breed stock. They should be able to reproduce no matter what condition. That's very important. If you're a breeder and you want to sell horses, you don't need them 5 years open. You want babies to sell, to show fertility. And they can work in the meantime, you all know that. It's not a disease, it's not a sickness. They can work, being pregnant, and that's very important, and all the other points, and that makes a breed then. That makes longevity and all that. And that's how we kept the standard. That's how we kept the breed. And thank God, people like breeders jumped in and said, hey, I buy the best ones before they go to any amateur that want to ride them or drive them. He buys them colts early enough. He knows the mother stems, and that's the important thing. He buys them early enough. He has them in very good pasture, especially now when they are 2 years old, because our licensing is in the fall
Of 2 years.
of 2 years. So the 2020 ones, the 2020 born ones, they go in November or December to the licensing. And they, when you go to the licensing, they are well prepared. Just naturally worked a little bit in hand, launched, and they are well fed. So he has them now on very good grass. And in the fall we have the licensing, and you see then all the stallions coming up. They not all get licensed, but you find your type, and
then the third year,
they do the test.
the performance test.
They breed.
Sometimes, not.
Sometimes.
Not all. You have the chance as a 4-year-old.
They
Also,
must. You have a stallion who's growing up always.
Yes.
You don't take him to a license. It's important. You would like to have mass to your stallion, and if the driving test is bad because the horse is not growing up enough. That's not good.
Hold back until he looks better at 4.
Yeah.
A good impression.
for the performance
For the
test.
performance
And
test.
the same with presenting them for the licensing. If you have a very late bloomer,
Yes.
not ideal, but it's a quality horse, so you might bring me here later.
Fabio, they did it for.
In general, you have them 2.5 years old, and then they breed at 3-year-olds, and then you have to get, and they do their test, and then you have the first idea. When they are 4 and the foals are on the ground, we don't have distances, so if you want, you can drive around, even if they don't come to the shows. I say shows, it's actually not a show. People go, the breeders go there with their foals to get them registered there, and they get evaluated. They like that. It's a meeting where they have a beer afterwards also, and all that kind of stuff. So you have these places where they come with their foals, and we have no distance. You can go to most places by bicycle probably, unlike here. Makes it easier. So after the first year, they have covered a couple of mares, and the second year you know pretty much.
And the ultimate standard is for the state to pick your stud colt and put them in service for the state. That's like the
State, we still have states that, thank God, right, British?
Yeah.
They kept the breed alive. It is for sure subsidized then. They buy stallions, government, in all regions of Germany. And when
They
it
pay the
really
best
dropped,
price.
when it really dropped in the 60s and 70s, they kept stallions.
and so they'll have the very best couple stud colts kept every year, bought by the state. So the state of Wisconsin might buy the best stud colt or 2 they can find, tested, evaluated at 2, tested at 3 or 4, tested for PSSM. The state buys it, and you as a farmer can go breed your mare for 200 euros.
Yeah.
It's a way
very
to
reasonable
make sure
price.
it cuts down on backyard stallions, so everybody's breeding to the best genetics at an affordable price.
And it's very different in the history. It's
And the
very
people
open
around
right now. Looking back,
Saying they got
30 years ago,
they don't have.
no matter what breed, if you had used a stallion who's not licensed in Germany, you could be sued up to $10,000. If you had a stallion used for breeding that's not licensed, and 10 years earlier, that came into public, they came and you had to kill. Just to keep the left and right backyard chickens out of the breeding scene. That helped to build it up a little bit. And the true breeders believed in that and stayed to what they have and believed it.
And another integral part of building a good breed is the bottom side, the culling.
Yeah,
You
that's,
have to be willing to.
we don't, it's not so popular, but that was in the old days where you had colts, foals, foals. But that's always easy, and in several parts of Germany, still the lower quality goes for human consumption.
Or just goes or gets gelded.
Yeah,
I'm
sure,
saying,
workhorse.
If it was a
Regular.
colt's born
Yeah.
with a top pedigree, but he just doesn't have the mind at 3 years old, just because his mom is X and his dad is
No,
Y.
no, it's not all pedigree.
He's out. He doesn't have the mind.
If he's towing out like or he's sickle hocked or anything, too bad. He's a gelding.
He's a gelding coach horse.
Yeah, nice. Probably a good disposition, but just in some points not breed quality.
No, and that's.
Normal
I
thing,
think-
you can work them.
I think that's why in 2,400 kilometers we've seen such consistent horses.
Yeah. And yeah, that's how, as I said, it's way easier in Germany. Everybody, I heard a lot of people that have been to Germany, they know we have no distances. You can really travel around and see horses. We saw a lot of them, right, in these few days. And that makes it easy. But you have the chance, you have the opportunity with modern technology we have nowadays. If you want to know something and your organization requires anything nowadays with video and stuff, that should be possible, even if in a distance where you live in a remote area where nobody else comes.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Oh, back there.
And the studs you brought from Germany, do they have a track record or are they just really young?
We have to bring them under 2 years old because of the America's USDA's importing rules. So a stallion has to come in under 2 years old unless you're Bill Gates or very rich.
It's really expensive.
It's really expensive.
So
So
those guys
if they
have
have-
no,
They're
track
foals.
record.
they're fulls. But that's what I was saying. Friedrich had bought 2 of the 3, picked them out and bought them because he was sure they had a very good chance of being approved and or even beyond that, maybe licensed stallions.
You don't buy them randomly.
Don't buy them for
You know the pedigree, you know the lines.
Yeah,
Proofs in the pudding, what they produce.
Yeah.
exactly.
When they have a mother line where the first 4 mares were used, and Friedrich, just to say that, I didn't ask, but I assume if the other one would have been on a public show, he would have probably bought them all.
Yeah.
He would have probably bought them also. But this guy, kind of different. He just called me and wanted a private inspection, just on his farm, nothing, just go in, color markings, regular stuff. And I saw that colt, and I asked him, can you take him out? And I saw the mother.
The mother was where it was at. The colt
That
that's in
was-
Wisconsin was not
That
originally a
one,
Friedrich.
that was.
And that mother already has a stallion colt that got bought by the state
By
and
the
is
state
standing,
stuff.
is standing
So-
for the state.
And the mother is correct, great mover, easy-going, quiet horse, and so was that colt. I just asked him was on the road, and I just asked him to go back and forth. That was enough. He really walked. These foals, when he buys them, these are the top of the year, you know. Otherwise you don't need them. You don't need them for his purpose or for the purpose of what we brought over here. They are selected, top selected. They can't have a record. You really need to know the mother lines. That's why it's important.
And that goes back to the beginning of what I was saying. You know, when an average person, maybe a good breeder gets 3 or 4 in their entire career, he's picked out 33 or 35 that have been approved. So he can pick a
And a
colt.
lot of
We're going on his track record.
So I'm going on his track record. I don't exactly though.
Yeah.
I don't speak the language. Once I see that Friedrich agreed with me on most things, I knew he was right.
And I saw that stallion that's now in Wisconsin. You saw him, and I said, hey, I get him off that breeder's farm. It's kind of not my cup of tea, that guy.
A lot of schnapps.
And I brought him to Friedrich, and Friedrich said right away, I would have bought him. So that's the
Good horse and a good mother, and the good mothers make the good stallions.
That's-
Everywhere the same.
You hear that, Mom?
and there was another question.
Do you worry about concentrating your genetics so tight that you're line bred on top of itself?
Good question. We were fortunate at the wall came.
And
So they can reblend.
Okay.
And they are still dabbling, to be honest, they're still dabbling in Belgium and Netherlands. So we see quite a few horses that were 25% wrong. I mean Dutch or Belgian. But they
And
can
when-
absorb some of that.
So
And
And
in the
was one of the
90s,
things
when
you
the
were
wall
doing.
came down in Eastern Germany, that was pretty interesting.
that's one point, and the second point is we have to look to the ground. We don't like the Belgian horses because of their big legs, big black legs, not the real for us. But sometimes we have to look there for new blood. Yeah, not every year. In 10 years, one. You have only to find one good, and you have to look to the mothers. And the most breeders in Belgium have big horses with wet legs. We don't want this.
No,
We
not
want
at all.
horses in a good mood. And so we have also looked to Belgium and East Germany. And so
Yeah. When the wall came down, that was a plus for us.
that was blasphemous.
Like Mike Jordan's horse in West Virginia is a Liebling and
Right.
a Hannah,
Right,
and that's
right.
way up by Poland. I mean,
Way up by Poland, that mother was from one of the
Oldest breeding
state
station
stats
in East Germany.
in Germany in total, because that thing is 400 years old, and it's really a well-reputed breeding farm, and that's where the mother of yours. That's where she came from. We saw her. At that farm.
and Liebling, the sire, 2 years ago or 1 year ago, he cleaned up. Performance test.
So that's
He was even almost better than ours, Mike. 9.1 out of 10. You know. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we were picking. We didn't go over there saying, "Hey, you got anything with testicles?" We wanted the best because it costs so much money to get
That's
it here.
yeah, and that was, the question was the age. When they hit their second birthday, if you bring them, let's say they turn on the 15th of April. If you bring them in on the 14th, everything is okay. They do their 2-day quarantine. Still, the United States charges about $4,000 for these
$3,000 for 2 days.
$3,200 for 2 days sitting in Chicago airport. Nothing. If you bring them in on the 16th, they are 1 day after the second birthday. They have to stay 4 weeks in quarantine. They have to get collected, and you just add another $8,000-9,000, $10,000 to what you have already paid. That's the reason. That's a very understandable reason to bring them in as youngsters before they are, because that's a lot of money.
Yes.
Does color enter?
Huh?
Does color enter into your evaluation at all?
Not for the two of us primarily. It's Farbe of difference. But the market,
Horse has no color.
good horse has no color. The market asks sometimes for this or that.
How did I shoot us in the foot? 4 weeks before I came to you, I said I can't sell a sorrel, a chestnut.
That
And
was
he,
one
and
of
he,
the
and he says I had to cut out half of our good horses.
more than half.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I talked about
More
this at a
than
meeting.
Sure, it's not like
We have to get over that. We have to get over that on future
The
imports.
cutoff point was that, and we saw several very, very good ones, but
And I got over there, and they were so good. I'm like, oh,
he was really convinced to get one. But they were sorrow, and I kind of had to agree with him for the situation here.
yeah. We have to let these bay colts prove themselves to convince people that if you really want to go after the best genetics, you might have to look at a sorrel.
So that was the beginning. Period.
I mean, sometimes.
But also, so
But also, sorry, we can't say only blue roan. We can't say no sorrel.
No way.
that's all right. Not really colored, but mistaken.
I gotta have a Volkschimmel. Well, then you're limited to only the red roans. You gotta everything. Look at everything. Sorrel is a blonde. That's what we call it. The American-looking Belgian.
The quarter
So I
horses
said-
call it a sorrow.
looks
Yeah.
like
It's a chestnut,
Chestnut and
with
German.
chestnut with flax and mane and gel.
Yes, yes.
White mane and
I
gel.
said, well, that's a hard sell for us. Well, I cut off 38% of their genetics by just saying I can't bring a blonde.
I mean,
No,
more
we
than
can invest
I
money
went to
on
the
that.
database. I went to the database. I selected colts born 2020, no, born 21, and then I looked through chestnut. Put 'em. But it's not from a breeder's point. From a breeder's point, it's not correct for the situation here to get it kind of going. In the first generation is on the ground from these bays. That's a different scenario.
I mean, in a few years, if we can bring over a Hansenglück,
for example,
for example, a Hansenglück that's
I
blonde.
mean, we saw one of his youngsters at a breeding station. They brought him out, very attractive type, dead quiet, and then he turned around to the left and trotted away on the street.
Can run like a sport.
Sunday morning horse, really,
I mean, he would take you to church. He moved that good.
and dead quiet.
Who was the 17 hands? He was pushing 17 hands up on the hill. The bachelor that took us in for coffee. We looked at
Humphrey.
asterisks, but who was the
Humphrey.
Almost 17 hands, blonde, flax and mane and tail. Legs were spotless. Big stout horse. He's every bit as big as Axel, the stud horse out here.
Yeah.
And he's blonde, But we should have been looking at all the Humphreys colts while we were over there.
You saw my filly?
I saw his filly, blonde, almost as good as my fillies. Well, he had a frozen drinking cup. We had to go home and fix the drinking cup, so I got to see all his horses.
That's right.
We had to fix the drinking cup. We had
That's
to go to the
right.
hardware
These
store.
idiots, these idiots, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that was a little bit a difficult thing, but leave color aside, we found 3 good ones. That's the most important, in my opinion. That's the most important point for today.
I suffered through the beer.
Yeah, and it's not the color.
Very great.
Suffered.
Yeah.
You got another question, Otto? Lisa Hubie, or
Yeah.
So these 3 colts have come in, and you know their family lines, you know the mother lines.
Yeah.
And if there's so I'm imagining it's quite possible there's going to be another round of importations of colts.
Right here we have another.
Yeah, right. And so would you be looking also for which family lines would be good crosses with the ones that have already come, and make selections with that also in mind?
Yes. With the distances here, it's probably not as important.
Because we have
But
so much
yes.
diversity, he's saying it might not be as important.
And the distances. I mean, the guy in Oregon, the young colt in Oregon won't breed a mare from South Carolina. Just saying. As long as they are just live couple.
But we might be interested in offspring from the guy in Oregon being nice crosses with the guy. offspring
Absolutely,
from
and
the guy in
that's kind of the master plan. That should be the master plan with them 3 colts.
Yes, and if there's no more money or something changes, and we can't bring in another one, we plan on rotating these colts in a few years or something like that.
That would make sense.
You know, something like that. Moving around what we have.
That's a good idea too.
But ideally, you all would buy some, a couple more people get together in a few years, bring in something that matches well with the R.
Even if somebody wants a starter filly
Maybe someone wants a broke stallion, and I sell mine at 7 years old.
or a starter filly or something like this, that's all possible.
They're buying a U-line filly, which is not related to
anything else.
anything we brought already. Mike and Rachel Kennedy here. There'll be a U. The letters. If a Hank's Poland, a stud colt's born, his name will get the same first letter as his sire. If you get a stout or a mare colt, mare foal, she'll get the first letter of her dam. So if you have Hannah matched with Asterix, and they, or
Filly.
who was my stud colt sire? Not that's my stud colt.
Augustus.
Augustus. So if you have Hannah matched with Augustus, and they have a stud colt, you're going to name them something heir, Andy. But if you have Augustus and Hannah, and they have a baby, she's going to be Holly. She's going to keep her mom's first letter. So they talk about lines. You have
And
M
that's the
lines. And U
important,
lines.
when you
She did
are
that
into
with
the
her cattle
pedigree,
for
then you
years.
know a
Really?
little bit that there comes that each mare
You
by
could always tell by
standard
the
X,
first
Y,
letter
Z.
where
You know
the
exactly what it
generation
is.
before.
Like I throw a name on Friedrich, he right away comes up, knows the pedigree, not only the pedigree, knows it's good or it's so-so or it's bad.
Or watch that line. Some of them were flighties, or some of them were great workers. The M line. These guys are getting a U line from Eastern Germany.
In the dairy industry, you don't keep too many.
It's a black
cows.
roan,
I mean,
though.
They're meat, so
The proper name
unless
is
you
the
get
black
that
roan.
one
not-
rare bull that's always sounded
Black
as
horse is the roan.
stud semen stud.
That's what it is. That's yeah,
Black
but
roan.
it's
But not as valuable as the blue roan.
Famous tested.
So I see we
You get your
taking
No, 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 no.
this guy the balloon here.
yeah, that's a little bit about that, how we do it in Germany, and I mean you're a good group. That's our impression. I shouldn't say mine. That's our impression. We talked about for sure. I think it's a good group. You really work the horses, and I had Wes already commented that it was very interesting to do that really little test as an eye opener a little bit. And I think there are some things you can take out of that for the future. What we like is really how the horses act, how they show a good character, how they even not used to that stuff, how they adapt to it, good-minded work animals. And we had different ones from all over the US, I want to say, and that really looked good. There's good breed stuff in there. You just need to build up over the generations some consistency. Otherwise, how you do it and what you do and the idea is really what we think is a good thing. And I hope ABA can promote that nicely. And Wes is not here. We just talked about it. It should be possible nowadays with all them social media. I think you're in the position to bring that out nicely with the horses you have now and how that goes with all the little things to get the people that like a calm, versatile horse. And that's what it should be. That you can drive for fun, for pleasure, that you can work. You can put a saddle on and do a trail ride on a Sunday or go out hunting, whatever. That's what you have and that's what you should keep. And that's what you should promote and make it consistent.
Let them stay healthy in older times.
Let them stay healthy in old age.
Good.
Anything else? Otherwise, they do have the food ready. Till they die. There's a lot of horses. I seen a 23-year-old stallion that he raced for a long time in an M line. They brought him out of the stall. 23 years old. They trotted him down the cobblestone. They trotted him back, and he just floated at 23 years old. You're looking at a 75, 80-year-old gentleman in human years. He floated, and everything was working on him. There was an entire group of mares there. He was ready to go at 23 years old. Everything still worked.
But we take good care of him.
They took good care of him.
Yeah, sure.
He was a lifetime buddy.
And I was super impressed with this horse. I wanted a Hinks foal and a stud colt out of him. And Friedrich goes, yes, he was my horse for many years. Be careful, he's not an honest breeder. The minute he said that about his own horse, I knew I had an honest guy. He says you have to mate that horse right, or you end up with a Belgian. Because he had a little too much Ardennes and Belgian in his lines. Mate that horse right to a good German, to end up with a German colt. And that was his own horse. And
He was healthy and not hairy, but knowing the generations, you could look
he knew what would come
behind
back.
the mirror.
And he said the ones you're getting will go boom, 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 boom. They will. The Augustus horses, the Liebling, he wasn't as sure of them. More Eastern.
Yeah.
He knew his good lines, but he wasn't as familiar with them. They will punch out cookie cutters. Consistency. But he said that old horse of his. Be careful what mare you give him, or you could go back and get a belt. They'll produce a Belgian, a different horse.
But also what we heard on several occasions, everybody that works horses, this
M line.
old horses, M. Marquis Stallion, he had the highest name.
Yes, they're the best.
Just saying.
All the loggers want an M horse. They're good minds.
Marquis.
Yeah.
Best working horses.
Best in his character. And good legs. And yeah, it's best down. But you have to look. Not every mare. You cannot take every mare to have.
But that's breeding, and that's easier for us because we see that. When you have 5 foals by your young colt and nobody goes around you, don't have them on social media, you have 5 foals by that colt. Nobody can say I like it.
Yeah. And our distance is a killer for having,
That's why.
for having gatherings.
That's why we too would have them colts. We have foals on the ground. Put them online in your group. Put them on the website.
Yes. Let them
Let people see them. Might like them.
And you said it's important to get a good photographer out there, not a farmer. So don't put anything out that doesn't represent your colt well. So I've already been excluded from taking any pictures.
Or you do a painting.
No, stick painting. It's bad. But and Karen's touched on this too about 1,000 times. Don't take a photo or take a good one. But other than
I
that, take
told
one.
you. I believe
Nothing
we
bad.
talked 100 times in the car in our. Whatever. That, but it should work out. I'm pretty sure. With your honest mare base, I saw some nice ones here. Might not be everything in the country, but that looks good.
Thank you very much, guys. The food is ready.